English with Deck. Now, I'm sure many of you have experienced living or at least residing abroad for away from home for some reasonable amount of time. You know, I think spending time away from where we might originally have called home definitely has a profound effect on our mentality. I'm so sorry, mentality and our personality. You know, and it's really interesting to think about how we have changed as people, or how we, if we are living abroad. When I say abroad, I mean away from, let's say, our native country, or how we changed when we were living abroad. You know, and of course, as with anything, but especially with this, there are many pros and many cons. You know, pro, the weather's nicer. Con, the food is spicy. Pro, the transport is better. Con, maybe everything is a bit further away, as in like maybe your general family and stuff like that. Now they are just very standard positive and negative effects of living abroad. And then, of course, you've got how you mature or become more immature, I guess, in some cases. But generally, I'd say people mature from that experience. Um, but one thing that I don't really think gets talked about enough, or at least not so openly, is the struggle of fitting in. You know, and I think you don't have to absolutely bond with every person you meet. You don't have to become best pals with that next door neighbor, or you don't have to strike a conversation up every time with the lady in the supermarket. But it can be nice to develop some relationships, platonic, of course, but maybe even romantic. But one thing which I think can get overlooked quite a lot is even when you manage to speak the language, you are relatively immersed in the culture, and you are pretty, say, I don't know, I don't want to say accepted, but pretty well thought of within the community, let's say. And yet, still, one thing I think quite a lot of people do struggle with is workplace relationships, you know? Now, one reason for this is just simply that the way that a different culture would do the same job is going to be different. You know, there's different ethics, there's different expectations, and of course, there's different ways of doing it. You know, there's more than one way to skin a cat, people always say. And this is especially true. And actually immersing yourself and getting involved with your company's work space environment, getting along with your colleagues isn't always the easiest task at hand. You know, there's different levels of etiquette depending where people come from. There's different styles of humor, different amounts of respect needed. You know, and generally, and just genuine work ethics. Someone can be a hard worker, that's obvious, but maybe you do too much, too little, do it wrong, do it right. Timing can be off. There's 101 ways it can be different from your own country. And I think because of this, it really can make fitting in at the workplace a real pain, to be honest, in many cases. You know, it feels like you're walking on a tightrope a lot of the time. Even if you're doing well, even if you generally speaking get on with your colleagues, let's say, it can be tricky to actually get involved with them, on in a less of a professional manner, but more of a personal manner, you know? And it could just be that you don't quite see eye to eye, you're different people. It could be you don't quite get each other's jokes. That it's normal, but it is very difficult to deal with. I'll be honest, I have experienced that to a degree. I know many other people who have, and I actually was talking with someone today in a lesson about that, and it really brought it home for me how easy it can be to feel satisfied, to feel completed, to feel like you're achieving this, that, and the other in your new country. And yet, when it comes to something which you've done a million times before, which is going to work in that industry, in that style of workspace, but because of the cultural differences of the location, it has a not necessarily negative effect, but it can create a set of difficulties. I'm sorry. And I really feel this should get addressed a bit more. And I don't have a simple answer to this. I don't think anyone does. There's no one size fits all remedy to this. However, one thing I will suggest is, for some people, a workplace can be they are and should be their uh, place to earn money, their place to socialize, and their place to, well, relax as well. It can be for some people. Great, good for you. For other people, though, separation is key. And if you are in the separation is key category, I think, if you are in the situation where work is work is a bit difficult in the sense of settling in and making relationships, then just view it as work. You don't have to view it negatively. You don't have to view it as a chore. But at the end of the day, it is work, and you kind of make 100 connections outside of the workplace. If you want to make connections in the workplace, then I do suggest, putting feelers out there, trying to sort of read the air, find out what people like, and then trying to feed off that. But do it carefully, don't put yourself in a situation where you're doing things you don't want to do. If you don't want to go drinking, but you're going drinking. If you don't want to play football, but you're playing football. That kind of stuff. There is no one size fits all. But just know you're not alone if you are in that situation. And if you're not in that situation, good for you. And if you are not in that situation yet, and you might be in the future, you feel like, just remember there are always solutions. It's not as bleak as it sounds. All right, look, I hope this has been an informative episode for you guys. And just a reminder that this Saturday, which will be 2026, March the 14th at 9 o'clock p.m. Japan Standard Time, there will be Deck English with Deck, YouTube Live, the first one. So please come and take a gander at it. Feel free to ask any questions you like, within reason, of course. And of course, just another shout out about if you do have a second, please check out my website. There you will find links to my teaching profile. There is also a discount available for new users to the platform which I use to teach. You will get a 30% discount on your first trial lesson. And you will have to search for my name after making an account if you go down that route. But absolutely, I look forward to see you there. If you already have an account with that company, that platform, absolutely feel free to hit me up and we can have a chat about some future lessons. Of course, as I always mention, there is the coffee page. Absolutely appreciated. and any suggestions are always welcome on that page as well, as in any of the other platforms as well, but feel free to take a look. Yeah, okay, guys. Well, I hope to see you again soon. Have a good morning, have a great afternoon, and a lovely evening. See you in the next one. Bye now.